Good morning, good morning, good morning, and welcome to the Daily Dose. One for all is love, the Daily Dose. And today's topic is resistance, adjusting to change. All right, let's go ahead and start the timer with Sonya Spirit, and I am Sonya Spirit. Today is Saturday, November 14th, 2020. Okay, so the name of this game is Resistance, adjusting to change. Okay, so what does that mean? Change is always occurring. Okay, change is the only constant. We've heard the cliche, we are familiar with the phrase, and it is true. It is a truth. Um, so the change is always taking place because energy is always moving and transforming. Okay, it's moving, it's attracting, it's repelling, it's creating, it's dissipating, it's transforming. Okay, so you get the picture with the fingers. So, but even in our everyday lives, we talk about change as though it is some abstract concept, and it's not. It applies to us daily. So, here's a good example. Anybody who's following the Daily Dose knows that I've just recently moved from one state to another. And even though I was mentally prepared for the process, it doesn't alter the experience, which means for the most part, there is change taking place. And we all know that I love change. I love mobility. However, there are still adjustments that need to be made. So no matter how open and receptive you are to change, you still have to make adjustments. And how you process or receive those adjustments is basically what is where your resistance come from. So there is change, and you have to get into a routine again or settlement. And routine is a part of everyone's structure. Whether they are a mobile person or a stable person, introvert, extrovert, it doesn't matter. There should always be some level of stability, okay, for that individual's comfort zone. So even for me, there is some stability that takes place. And of course, trying to find your niche and get back into your own groove is an adjustment period. How quickly or how slowly it takes place is completely up to the individual. Okay. And how they process the experience. That's what I mean by the individual, how you process the experience. So even for myself, I haven't been consistent with my daily doses this week. So there's been a little bit of struggling for me to become more consistent, to get into to find my sync or routine where I can be comfortable doing the same thing repeatedly or consistently. So that's what I'm talking about as far as resistance to change. And it's not that, it's not like an emotional or a conditioned resistance where we have this knee-jerk reaction because it's part of our programming. Oh, speaking of programming, I had another thought about that too. It's actually a joke. Okay, I'm gonna tell it now before I forget because we know how I am. What is the difference between um, uh, what is the difference between a human and a clone? Okay. The difference is a clone knows that it is programmed. So I was watching Mandalorian with my sweetie, and the stormtroopers came up, and somehow that came into the topic of conversation. And I was like, oh, I think I like that. I think I'm going to use that. The difference between, because I guess the stormtroopers are clones. I'm not a Star Wars fan or whatever. But anyway, you get my point. The point is but it was funny, and it's also applicable. The difference between humans and clones is clones know they are programmed. Okay. Many humans do not know that they are programmed are programmed with negative conditions. So that's what we have to work through as an individual. And once again, how far and how fast we get with breaking down barriers or unnecessary conditions, limitations, man-made limitations or conditions. Oh my goodness, this brings me to another thought. So there was this series that I was watching intermittently. It's called The Order on Netflix. and it's all about the Rosicrucians, but don't get hung up on that. There was a lot of truth to it, and I'm about to lose my thought because I wanted to actually carry this out. It had something I forgot. It'll have to come back to me. I hate when I do that. I really need to write this stuff down, and hopefully it'll come back to me. But it had something to do with nothing. Okay. Let's see. What else do I have? So resistance, change. Be mindful. Just be mindful. Okay. Of because it's all about your behavior, and it's all about basically how you apply yourself. Once again, how fast, how far you move in consciousness is dependent upon yourself. Okay, your whether it's your resistance, your acceptance, and once you accept, that's not enough. So you have to attract, you have to accept. So attraction, think about this. Attracting is basically you have to have the subconscious energy. You have to be holding the subconscious energy. Now, if you know a lot of spiritual practitioners, they talk about holding space. You have to hold that energy to attract more of it. Okay. And so that's what it is when you are attracting the energy. Then once you attract it, you have to receive it. Part of receiving, and this is all a process, a seamless process. But once you receive it, you have to integrate it. Okay, so attracting it is one activity. And once you attract it, receiving it is pretty seamless because the whole purpose of you attracting it is to accept it. Okay, but part of the acceptance is integrating whatever changes that you want to make from the inside out. And that's both physically and spiritually. Physically, we're talking about DNA. Okay, we're talking about cells, but you're still talking about programming because cells are programmed. Okay, but they are a programmed intelligence. Cells are intelligent. Oh my God, cells are so beautiful. Words cannot even begin to describe. Because cells, if you think of stem cells, they go in, their intelligence, mind you, but they go in selflessly and they are prepared to do what is asked of them. So what I mean by that is whatever the programming is, if they are programmed to be, heart tissue, or brain tissue or muscle or whatever their programming is, they go in, they perform based on their programming. So of course, a lot of our attitude and our energy will house disease if we hold on to things like regret, resentment, hatred, revenge, stuff like that. That's what distorts our cells. Okay, that energy that we hold, the same energy we were talking about holding to attract things for our betterment or for the betterment of all mankind, this behavior is a pattern and is consistent through everything that we do from the inside out. Okay. All right. I think I finally got on a roll and now I'm running with it. I'm going to wrap it up because we're off into the 8-minute mark or approaching the 9-minute mark. But the whole point is do not build a resistance to change. And even though there is change, you will experience some resistance. Just observe it, okay? And if it does not serve you, allow it to dissipate. You don't necessarily have to do anything. Just allow it to keep moving. All right, family. Tomorrow, I will have my first broadcast on Blog Talk Radio, Heart Over Ego. It's been a couple of weeks since I did my hour-long podcast, and I'll be posting it on my Facebook page. It's been a couple of weeks because I've had a lot of activity going on. But thank you so much for bearing with me, for being patient, for your persistence. Hello, viewer. Thank you for being present. Take advantage of this beautiful today. I love you and goodbye. Mwah.